Chapter 598, released on October 4th, 2010, and Episode 522, aired on November 6, 2011. This was the start of the New World Saga, aka the second half of One Piece. Now this was a classic age of hype. One Piece Part 1 seemed like it could do no wrong. Arc after arc kept the lore expanding, kept pushing its characters in amazing ways, and it all ended with one of the most tragic and yet best moments in shonen history. So the future looked bright for One Piece, until it came. Welcome to the divisive age, where every new arc caused a civil war within its own fanbase. Fishman Island. We got Queen Otahime and a bag of cliche yet well executed time skip moments, but we also got Shirahoshi, Hody Jones, and plot relevant pervy nosebleeds. Punk Hazard, a very different arc, one that handled the idea of giving side characters as much time as the main cast, but that style could turn some people off, and Smoker got thrown to the trash faster than you could say, directed by Ryan Johnson. Dressrosa, we got Doflamingo, Gear 4, Senor Pink vs. Frankie, Zoro Cut and Pika, Fujitora, The Return of Sabo, The Straw Hat Fleet, The Tragic Lives of Kairos and Corazon, and, most importantly, Sengoku in summer shorts. On the other hand, many were turned off by the arc's length, the Tantadas, Rebecca, and a horrendously handled anime arc. How very convenient for us today. The Zao arc, pretty much the same as Punk Hazard, except we can add Jack to the cons. And finally, Whole Cake Island! I'm not going near that again. If you want to hear what I think about the whole thing, I invite you to check out my review on the arc. Links above and at the end of the video. So with the flux in quality and content creators constantly trying to defend or present their opinions on these arcs, mixed with the fan base that's getting a little tired of their schlock, and the fan backlash for thinking anything differently, you can imagine why it's a little hard to be proud of being a part of the One Piece fan base. But suddenly, on May 2nd, 2018, Eiichiro Oda descended from his home and said to us fans, "Behold, the Reverie mini-arc." And we all went nuts for 6 weeks straight. This was the first time in almost a decade that a One Piece arc was universally beloved. Each chapter went out of its way to entice the reader, whether it be turning the tables on certain lore, upping the stakes with enemies, and just telling a really simple but great story. Full of build-up that left people wanting more and answering some much-desired questions. Now you can imagine everyone's excitement when it was time for the anime adaptation to begin. Hopes were high, the expectation that Toei could handle a small arc with the respect it deserves. And yes, there would have to be filler, but every chapter had this little gap during certain moments. They were a message for animators to go wild with, a jigsaw puzzle if you will. Introduce the Revolutionary Army? Awesome, let's make some footage where we show their force and their effect on people. Moments like that could really make this arc stand out. So, all that being said, everyone was ready to be in the same bubble of love that captivated them a year ago. Episode 878 premiered, and what a surprise! It was a total load of cow drop-ins! I hope you can forgive my history lesson. For me, this was the only way I could sum up how disappointing all this is. Not just because the Reverie anime arc is a jumbled mess, but because this is a clear indicator of how lazy a company can be to either cut corners or make easy viewer money. In most cases, both. I know what some fans are going to say. We should be happy that we have an anime in the first place. Workers at Toei poured countless hours that can never be returned, all so that we could watch and enjoy their work. And to that I say, screw you. I'm not taking that as an excuse anymore. I have heard all about the horrific conditions of the anime industry, and while it may seem heartless to denounce the efforts of people just trying to do their job, I want you to realize that the system we have allowed Toei to operate on is responsible for this. We can complain and compromise all we want, but until conditions are changed or improved, we're going to have the same tired argument over and over again. Bottom line, I can't just ignore the quality of something like One Piece because of an industry sob story. It is not special enough to be removed from criticism. We can all take great pleasure at taking shots at games and lesser known works of animation, but we can't mock One Piece. No, because that anime is the messiah, and to criticize them is to have no soul. Joke's on you, I sold my soul long ago to get this Samurai Spider-Man figure. We could tackle this anime adaptation in numerous ways. We could go episode by episode, or we could only focus on the new material, or we could go through the two largest issues this arc has brought to us. These two are animation quality and, of course, the flashbacks. Let's just get the flashbacks over with. If you ever watched Naruto or Bleach back in the day, I'm sure you can remember the two constant dreads that got in the way of an immersive viewer experience. They were the mostly pointless filler arcs and the flashbacks. At any time, at the mere mention of a name, event, or battle, your screen would adopt the sepia tone filter and show you a reused clip of an episode that lasts around 1 to 3 minutes. They got in the way a lot and made fans question if the anime was worth watching after all. I wish I had a time travel machine because then I could go warn everyone that somehow in the year of bloody 2019, the flashbacks could get worse. It also helps that the backlash from that statement would cause my untimely demise, thus freeing me from ever talking about this. So in the Reverie arc, every single episode resulted in a flashback, but they weren't just regular flashbacks. Oh no! These would last for several minutes, sometimes half an entire episode would be devoted to a flashback. Out of everything, I can only think of two good flashbacks. The first was in episode 881, where Akainu and Kizaru briefly remember Marineford before the episode does a recap of Impel Down. The second time was in episode 888, when Kuma's backstory is reviewed. I feel like this one can be warranted simply because Kuma was shrouded in mystery and his story is scattered all over the place. So to have a simple showing of his life was fine. It's one of the few flashbacks I could think of that doesn't insult the audience's intelligence or memory. It's just there as a well-needed reminder. The ones that do insult us, though, are every other flashback. Hey, kids! Did you want time-wasting recaps of the Luffy Special Episode 1, Dressrosa, Impel Down, the Marineford War, the Three Brothers Arc, Alabasta, Drum Island, Denise Lobby, Queen Otahime, Kaido and Kid, the End of Part 1, Fishman Island, Punk Hazard, Dressrosa, Genzao, Whole Cake Island, Sabaody, and the crew reunion? In that order? These flashbacks are the bane of any episode. Like I said before, these aren't simple flashbacks, these are half an episode recaps that rob the much needed screen time for new material and destroy any possible pacing it was going for. They just come out of nowhere, full of reminders about a story that we know all too well. It doesn't matter how long you put them on screen or how pretty your flashbacks are when they're remastered, it all comes across as lazy. How would you like it if you watched a Rogers-based video where he screams about Kingdom Hearts 3, but the mere second he mentions something about One Piece, you have to sit through 12 minutes of his screaming reactions at episodes and chapters, and then at the end he picks up exactly where he left off on Kingdom Hearts 3 like nothing happened? Wouldn't that be extremely annoying and you feel like you wasted even more of your time? Take that and put it on an industry level that has one of the most popular shonen stories in history under its clutches. It feels pointless to talk about the flashbacks in such detail like this, but it can't be helped. These take so much of an episode's time that it usually takes 2 episodes to cover one manga chapter. Compare that with something like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or Fullmetal Alchemist. These two shows are experts at taking their source material and adapting it in a consistent manner. And if flashbacks are shown, they are either very brief or they are used creatively in a filler episode to catch people up. I kind of wish we had that instead. How great would it have been if the first episode had a rundown of the royal families Luffy saved, along with Sabo and any of the key players we've met before. Each introduction could have narration that summed up the character while having still shots or flashbacks happening behind them. That way, the audience isn't forced to sit through or skip half an episode. They could be entertained by the creative handling of a recap and are ready for an amazing amount of new material. Also, I can't believe it took me this long to say it, but if you're going to force people to skip your episode to get to something remotely new, that's the mark of a terrible product. So flashbacks. Terrible. Easily the worst thing in this arc. But then there's my other largest issue, and that is the animation quality. We have all seen the videos and the memes where Toei doesn't really animate. Instead, it's like watching a JPEG image going through a Ken Burns effect, followed by the bare minimum of movement, followed by lip flaps, or taking the really easy route and have dialogue being played over a still shot or over a scene that's on repeat like a GIF image. And with the Reverie anime, it's more apparent than ever before. Characters look the same, movement is barren like a wasteland, and when something should be animated, the lazy route is taken. I think the two best examples are the slaves in episode 884 and Shirahoshi's struggle in episode 886. When I first read about the slaves pushing the sidewalk to move people, I remember thinking, damn, that's going to be brutal to watch, but it will be so cool. Give me a reason to hate the Celestials even more. How does Toei Animation handle it? Still images with overlapping dialogue and it lasts 10 seconds. That is weak. And then there's Shirahoshi trying not to get handcuffed and sold off to Charlos. So just listen to the audio alone here for a second. This is clearly a struggle that should be disturbing to watch, and the only way to prove that is to not show the laziest movements and repeat the footage, and you know exactly where this is going. Oh man, I'm so worried for Shirahoshi. She looks like she's in so much danger. I can't help but laugh at this. It looks like the slave and Shirahoshi are just really bad at doing the tango. There's no tension, the repeated footage and character interactions do nothing, and oh my god, this is painful. Every episode is full of that. Even if there's new material, there's nothing adaptive being done. I don't see a colorful cast of characters or the manga being brought to life. I instead see a horde of still images and figures moving one limb or one lip flap that just happens to be in color. I kept wishing with every new episode that they would just go balls to the wall on new material. The closest we got were episodes 880 and 888. But the problems with Toei's animation were consistent. This is just a poorly handled motion comic that at rare opportunities do really well. And for a series like One Piece, that should be deemed inexcusable by the so-called hardcore fans. The saddest thing about all this is that we're getting the Wano arc next, and look at this animation! It's moving, it's full of life, expressive, it's everything I could want. It's just a shame that effort did not translate well enough years ago. And hell, I don't even know if this animation style is going to stay past maybe an episode or two before we go back to the old format. I pray to God we don't do that. So yeah, the Reverie anime arc should not be remembered as a bad anime adaptation. It should be the reminder that this is how low something can sink. Now this arc will no doubt have its fans, and to them I say that I am jealous that I'm not able to see what you see, and I hope you enjoy the style to your heart's content. I just can't be a fan for obvious reasons. I will forever love reading the story, but with the anime, well, you've heard all the complaints. Let's just see how Wano goes first. As always, my fellow legends, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care.